Perfection is one of the most powerful illusions ever created. It inspires millions, builds legends, and turns athletes into symbols of something greater than themselves. But what happens when perfection is not real, when it's built on pressure, expectation, and hidden decisions no one sees? Marion Jones was once the embodiment of excellence. Speed, dominance, charisma. She wasn't just winning races, she was defining an era. To the world, she represented possibility, discipline, victory at the highest level. But behind every flawless image, there is a cost. In elite sports, the difference between greatness and obscurity can be measured in fractions of a second. And when the stakes are that high, the line between ambition and compromise begins to blur. This is not just a story about medals or records. It's about the psychology of staying on top, and what happens when the fear of losing becomes stronger than the will to be honest. Because when the truth finally emerges, it doesn't just take titles away. It rewrites identity. And in this case, the fall wasn't quiet. It was public, global, and impossible to ignore. Before the controversy, there was dominance. Marion Jones didn't just compete, she controlled the track. Her performances were explosive, precise, and seemingly effortless. Every race reinforced the same narrative. She was untouchable. Her victories carried more than personal achievement. She became a national symbol, representing strength, resilience, and excellence on a global stage. Sponsors followed. Media attention grew. The image expanded beyond sport. She became a brand, a story people believed in. And that belief mattered. Because the higher she climbed, the more the world expected her to stay there. Not just to win, but to continue winning, consistently, convincingly, without weakness. In that environment, success is no longer just a result. It becomes an obligation. And when winning becomes an expectation rather than an achievement, the pressure begins to change everything. At the highest level of competition, margins are razor thin. Athletes are not only competing against others, but against time, history, and their own previous performances. For someone at the top, the fear isn't just losing a race. It's losing everything that comes with it: relevance, sponsorships, identity. The image of invincibility becomes something that must be protected at all costs. This is where the hidden narrative begins. The part the audience doesn't see. Decisions made away from cameras. Justifications that feel temporary, controllable, necessary. In public records widely known, Marion Jones later admitted to the use of banned substances during her career. At the time, however, the image remained intact. The victories stood. The story continued. But the problem with a constructed reality is that it requires maintenance. And the longer it exists, the harder it becomes to sustain. Because eventually, truth doesn't fade. It accumulates. When the truth finally surfaced, it didn't arrive gradually. It hit all at once. Admissions were made. Investigations intensified. And the narrative that once celebrated perfection began to unravel. Her medals, symbols of achievement, became symbols of controversy. Records were no longer moments of pride, but points of debate. The world that once admired her now questioned everything. But the consequences went beyond sport. The situation escalated into legal territory, involving false statements to federal investigators, leading to a prison sentence. This was no longer just a fall from the podium. It was a complete rupture of identity. From global inspiration to cautionary tale, the shift was absolute. And it happened in full view of the public, under the same spotlight that once celebrated her success. Because the same attention that builds a legend can also dismantle it. After the headlines faded, what remained was something deeper than scandal. There was loss of legacy, credibility, and the version of herself the world once believed in. Public shame is a unique burden. It doesn't just affect reputation, it forces reflection. And in that reflection comes a difficult process: rebuilding, not the image, but the person behind it. Marion Jones' story didn't end with her sentence. It continued in quieter ways. Attempts to move forward, to redefine identity beyond past mistakes, to confront the gap between who she was seen as and who she actually became. And this is where the story becomes human. Because while few experience fame at that level, many understand the pressure to maintain appearances, to protect an image, to avoid failure at any cost. But the truth remains. Once a lie begins, it doesn't stay still. It grows. It demands more. Until eventually, it demands everything. The story of Marion Jones is not just about doping, medals, or prison. It's about the fragile nature of perfection and the cost of trying to sustain it. It reveals something deeper about fame, that it doesn't just reward success, it demands consistency. And when that consistency is broken, the fall is not just personal. It becomes public, permanent, and defining. In a world that celebrates victory, there is little space for vulnerability. But perhaps that's the lesson. Because perfection isn't what makes a story powerful, truth is. And when the mask falls, what remains is not the legend, but the reality behind it. So the question is, was this a failure of character or a reflection of a system that rewards winning above all else? If this story made you think, share your perspective in the comments. Like the video, subscribe, and stay with us for more stories about the rise, the fall, and the hidden truths behind fame.